Well, good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. This is our first time back together. Let's see, I got to figure out which button to push. First time back together in 2016. So, trust everybody had a good holiday break. We sure did. We spent there were 13 of us this year that spent the holiday down in southern Colorado, south of Gunnison, a place called Arrowhead. It's a community where my daughter lives, and we stayed in a backcountry home where we had to pack everything in on snowmobiles, and it was just a hoot, having fun. We played with the snowmobiles and played games and just had a great time. Some of you might remember Troy Sockler. Yeah. He was part of this Bible study for quite some time. Well, his daughter, Callie, is dating my youngest son, Mike. And so we invited the Socklers were with us, Sockler family. And so it was the Hathorst, the Socklers, and we had a really, really fun time. Well, let's turn to Genesis. We're starting a new chapter this morning. We wrapped up with the wrestling match that we've spent several weeks talking about. And the story continues. This is kind of the aftermath here. And we're going to be looking at chapter 33, verses 1 through 3. There's a bit of an enigma in this. The story that I have been teaching, or how I have been casting this story as a process of transformation. And of course, when you think of transformation, you think of coming out the other side as a new person. Well, I think that's true. But as often is the case when we're looking at the Bible, and we're looking at biblical truth and at life and what the scriptures have to say about life, there is, in a sense, an enigma about how things turn out. And that is certainly the case here. So we're going to look at this, have some fun with it this morning. Would someone read Genesis 33, verses 1 through 3?
Jacob looked up, and there was Esau, coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and 2 female servants. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brothers.
Okay, so just to tie it in with what we've been talking about, the way I cast this story is a process that we looked at, again, over several weeks, that there is this first half of life that's off the screen to the left. In Jacob's life, it was his early life in Israel, where he was raised, and then there was a period of time he left, and so I'm loosely connecting his leaving home on his journey, his journey, and of course he meets his match with Uncle Laban, and there began to occur to him a slipping, and I think the slipping for him, a feeling like loose footing, like he's not in control. And I think this is common to life. We as men, there comes a point in our lives where we start to sense that we don't have the level of control we thought we did. We never really had it. But and I would equate Jacob's experience there with the wife change on the night of his wedding. He really got suckered on that one. And so anyway, from there he had struggle, and which is common to all men, and of course the sacred wounding in his life that occurred, that we've been talking about in chapter 32. But then the last couple of weeks we've been looking at that after this wounding occurs in a man's life, there is a dawning and a crossing over and a different kind of walk. I love that. And all of us have had experience with older men in our lives that there is something that happens, and there's something that has drawing power to a man or a woman that has gone through this process of descent and of wounding and have experienced personally a resurrection and a trust and a faith and a calmness and a patience and a love that's there. Paul talks about the fruits of the Spirit and a dawning and a resurrection and a different kind of walk. So it's a beautiful picture, and that's what we've been talking about. Well, now the sun has come up, and he lifts his eyes, and I love the way that this is cast in the Hebrew, in the original. The New American Standard closely follows the word order, but Jacob lifted up his eyes, and behold, it's a word hine, and you see it often, especially in the Old Testament scriptures. And what it is, morning Bob, it's a call. It's a call to us as the reader to now take the lens of the subject and to see things through his eyes, in this case, his eyes. He lifted up his eyes, and hine, behold, he saw his brother coming. Oh, the drama of that is just incredible. Saw his brother coming with 400. Of course, we've been prepped for that for several weeks. And a loose outline this morning. Jacob saw, and then he separated. After seeing, now this is the lens, after seeing, he separated. And of course, we asked the question, why would he separate? Why would he separate his loved ones into these three groupings? We're going to look at it. And then because I had to stay consistent with the letter S, he 7 times bowed. So he 7 times bowed as his brother was approaching. So that's what we're looking at, verses 1 through 3. He saw, he separated, and he 7 times bowed. So here we go. Number 1, Jacob saw. And there's my scope there. And behold, and so we're drawn now to look through the lens. And the question is, what did he see? And I've thought about this, and I think, he saw one of two things. He saw opportunity and excitement, reunion with his long-lost brother. Well, he was the lost brother, but a reuniting and a sharing of what life has been to each of them. That's on the left. And that's, characterized by this set of eyes right here. He's excited to see what, and to share with his brother once again, a reunion. On the right-hand side is another set of eyes, possibility, and that possibility is driven by shame, destruction, what he has done, the possibility of revenge, and of course then the action of the separation would be motivated by protecting, like we saw in the first, like we saw in chapter 32. So I'd like to take a vote. I'd like to see how many, by your hands, how many of you feel that what he saw was on the left column. What he saw was anticipation and excitement and reunion. First of all, how many of you think that that's what he saw?
I think spiritually that's what he saw. I think physically he's still on the...
That confuses it for me. Thank you, Dave. I have enough dichotomy in my life. Yes.
In light of what just happened to him, I would have normally said the right-hand side, but I'm thinking maybe he has a different set of eyes now.
So you would vote for the
Exactly.
left-hand column?
I'd vote for the left-hand.
Okay. So Bill is the Lone Ranger here. He's taken that.
No, I like what Dave said.
Okay.
I think that it can be separated quite so cleanly.
Oh, yes, it can.
With that, well, with his experience, yeah, I think with the experience, I would, of the sacred wounding, he's a different man.
I still buy that. I still buy that he's a saint. But well, I'm not going to tell you what I think. I'm going to let you vote. So, how many guys are on the left? 1, 2. Wait, was that a yes? 2.5 or
2.5.
2.5? Okay. So we're going to go 2.5 here. That's a joke, but we're so funny as men. You know, we want to. Okay. Yes.
I was just looking at this and I was wondering why perhaps you didn't use the word judgment.
Judgment would be on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could be.
These places, judgment. That's enough to scare anybody.
Yeah, a judgment would be destruction, or you know, in other words, am I going to get what I deserve?
Yeah.
Yeah. Charlie, yes.
We have the benefit of these actions, and so it undoubtedly has to be the right column because he separated his family. And it's kind of like
That's the enigma. Yeah.
It's kind of like traveling on the airplane. You put a couple of your kids in one airplane, and then another, and just the airplane crashes. But
Yeah.
so
You only lose half of them.
It has to be on the right.
Well, I think that's certainly valid, but I guess what we're doing is exploring. You know, he could have separated. I mean, here's one idea: he could have separated them not for protection but for presentation. Well, here is, you know, we've seen this this is how Jacob thinks. We've seen this before in the prior chapters where he sent out a little bit of this and then he sent out a little bit of this. He kind of thinks in those kind of, greasing the machine or whatever you call. I don't know what the term is, but he just, well, now take a look at these. This is part of my family, and then take a look at these. This is my next part of my family, and so forth. So that's one way you could look at it. I don't really buy it, but that's one way somebody could look at it. I'm kind of more lined up with you. But how many of you would vote for the right-hand side? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 9. That's more definitive. We got 9, but we don't have the 0.5. Well, I already got the letter written there, so it's 3 to 1. It's 3 to 1. Most of you think that he is still acting out of fear and what is impending doom. So that begs the question about the whole experience of what he's gone through. And this whole question of, then what does transformation mean? I think all of us would agree that he's gone through a very significant experience. This experience is not an ordinary experience. This angelic being, or this God's presence meeting him and wrestling him, and the asking of the name, and then the not letting go, that is so unconventional action there that this had a huge effect on this man's life. But yet 2/3 of you think that he's acting the same. He's reverted back. Now, I would guess everyone in this room believes that through the power of the Holy Spirit we can change. But the question is, what does that mean? This is what is so interesting about the Scriptures. It's just not left. I agree with Dave. It's not black and white. There is enigma. There's question. There's searching. And it raises great questions for us to think about. So, 3 to 1, here we go. What he saw. Now, the next slide is he separated. And of course, Charlie's asked the question, well, then why, he's brought it up. Well, Charlie says, well, obviously, he's still acting out of the same mode because he did the same thing. I would tend to agree with that. But yet, of course, what does transformation look like? What effect did this action, regardless, have on his family? Think about, guys, think about a minute if you're in group 1. And there they are. You know, we got Zilpah and Bilhah.
B team.
We got, well, C team. You know, we would call them the expendables, right? Okay, because if impending doom is about to occur, they are going to be Group A. You know, we're going to watch what happens to Group A, and then it gives us at least an opportunity, Group B and C, or Groups 2 and 3, rather, up on the slide, at least to make some sort of escape escape attempt. So what message is being sent?
Is there a possibility that because they are older, that it looks like they have a stronger defense by them being out front, showing their strongest force?
I haven't heard that one. That's kind of interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, Joseph, of course, the youngest there at the time, and the others, we already know how they treated Joseph, so they can get pretty rowdy. They thought, well, here we are.
Well, this is
Putting your 400 people away.
could this kind of set the precedent for why Joseph got treated the way Joseph got treated?
It didn't help.
It didn't help matters, no.
If this was
Well-
tough, he could tell them what he read about.
Yeah. Well, I know that if I were in Group A, Group 1, I would have issue with that. I wouldn't feel good about being in Group 1. If I was in Group 2, I would think, well, gee, at least I'm not in Group 1. And then if I'm in Group 3, you only got 2 there, Rachel, and the text bears it out. Rachel was his favorite, and Joseph. No question. He had the coat of many colors. That's coming up later. Yep.
I'm not sure if there's an order to this, though. I mean, he just mentions, here's the first group, second. That doesn't mean he went ahead, it said. The other goes, he himself went on
Yep.
ahead.
And that's the next enigma. And he went ahead.
That's right. That's
So we got 3 groups, and I'm proposing that there was some level of discomfort and disharmony, and Jacob, through his action, was not building camaraderie and love within the family. It was separating. This is not a positive thing, is what I'm proposing. And so here we have more data. Gee, what is going on in this man's head? He's just gone through this wrestling match, this transforming experience, and he is acting like this. Does this sound familiar?
No.
It certainly doesn't line up with what often we are taught and what we teach regarding salvation.
Well,
You know.
we have the same thing with Peter.
Yes, we do. Yeah, but we tend to overlook these things.
Yeah, Peter took a few misfires even after Jesus.
Oh my goodness, it's so attuned with life that it's mixed. But yet it doesn't nullify the fact of the power of the Holy Spirit changing us. Maybe it points to the fact how deep the wounding is within us, and how deep the misunderstanding, and how deep it is of how much change needs to occur, or how much change needs to occur. So he separated. He saw, he separated. And the last one, he 7 times bowed. So he went ahead, which is, in spite of his, what I would interpret as negative actions, and actions that seem to indicate, in my opinion, that he's acting out of fear. He's reverting back, which also lines up with the realities of Peter and the realities of life. he goes ahead. There's a boldness. There's a willingness to face the music. And he humbles himself in a profound way, in humility. Now, it could be mixed motive. I'm sure it's mixed motive. But he humbles himself, and it's so interesting then to tie this into the stolen blessing in Genesis 27. The blessing meant for his brother. When Jacob, what's his dad's name? Isaac. Yeah, not Esau. Isaac. I kept saying Esau. When Isaac blessed Jacob, he was thinking, in full attention, he was blessing Esau. And here are the words from Isaac. May nations serve you, son, and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. Prophetic fulfillment right here. Jacob is bowing to Esau. Isn't that interesting? Stolen blessing that really wasn't a stolen blessing after all. He thought he got it. May those, and he goes on, finished up the verse. So he's 7 times bowed, and I would interpret this as a humble action and a noble action. An action of humility, that I'm laying myself out. In fact, in the scriptures, there's precedent that 7 times bowing, and 7 the number of completion and so forth. It's not by accident. A 7-time bowing. And so within the story, you're thinking, gee, well, where is this going? Give me some resolve here. Well, I can't. But I will say this. Well, before I go to that slide. So here we are, we're on 2 sides. And what I wanted to do is take a post vote. Given, we've looked through this text, verses 1 through 3. We got a 3-to-1 ratio going into the text, and I thought it'd be fun to now, just do another one coming out. On the left-hand side is the idea of reunion, that he's anticipating a wonderful reunion with his brother. On the right-hand side, it's motivated out of shame and judgment, Carl, of impending doom, of who knows what's going to happen, but I want to prepare and protect. And so let's take a second vote. How many of you think now that the left side, okay, let's vote again. Just, yeah, let's vote again. Fresh, okay? So we got 1, 2,
I think I'm still
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 8. So now, okay, so there's been a big shift that you guys now think that it's his eyes are seeing the reunion. Is that what you're saying?
Mhm.
Well, he wants the reunion. I mean, clearly he wants reconciliation. He wouldn't be coming back if he didn't want that. He's not coming back for judgment. He's afraid of it, but he's not coming back for the purpose of being beat up.
Yeah, I would say he would love reconciliation.
He's looking for reconciliation.
This is coming to him, though. I don't think he would choose it this way, but it's coming to him. So there's been a swing. There's been a swing through this, okay? 7. And then how many of you would vote on the right-hand side? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't set this up. I wouldn't have anticipated. I'm still on the right-hand side. I'm in the. No, we can't go in the middle.
Yes,
No,
you
I
can.
made you
I
choose.
think you structured this so. I think you structured it not on purpose, but I think you made it too cut. I think it's too cut and dried. I think when you have an experience like Jacob had, you can't make it quite so. I just think you can.
I agree. Let's go to the next slide. Whoa. I gotta erase that. Okay, so here's where I landed, okay? And I think it really lines up with what you're saying. Transformation does not mean, I'm dealing with this issue. It doesn't mean perfection. And therein is where I think we, in our human natureness, make a mistake. That we think if, God, for believers in Jesus, there's this expected perfection that has to happen. And the way it appears and the way it comes out is self-righteousness. See, but we're not, just don't think it lines up like that, Everett. I think that's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
But, so then I'm trying to think, gee, then what does it mean? And this, who knows, but this is how I landed. Transformation does mean the ability to release control,
To die to self.
which is another way of saying to die to self. Yeah. Maybe it means a whole lot more. I'm sure it means a whole lot more. I mean, you know, my understanding is like this, but there's something that happens in a man's life, and it is apparent to those around him when he, and I would include women, he or she, when there is a relinquishing of the need to control, to be right, to be well thought of, to be, no, that's enough. That gives us enough to work with. But that, the release, the relinquishing of control, and you guys know this. You guys all know what this is like. You guys, I am sure all of us in this room have experienced a piece of this, or we wouldn't keep coming back to this thing. There's something that resonates, and there's something intriguing about the fact it's not black and white. But yet there's a faith of a power that is much greater than us, that is working within us to change us. And at moments we get glimpses of that. And we see, and we notice that we react differently than we did years ago, a few years ago. That there's some change. And I would venture to say it is always about not winning, but it's about releasing. That is what I'm trying to say.
Don't you think the best example for women is Mary? When she said, "Be it unto me," she lost her reputation.
Oh,
I mean, so many things. I mean, that she would say, "I accept this, Lord."
yeah, I think so. Yep. Yes, I think so. It is 7:30. How in the world do I always end up at 7:30?
Dave's good.
Yes, who's got a question?
I got a question, I wonder, or just a thought or question, I don't know, I wonder if he was honest with the people around him as he formed those groups. Did he let them know of his past failures and this could be a disaster coming? Was he honest? Did he?
Oh,
tell
I have no idea.
Rachel